Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you tonight for the Queensland Health 2026 RMO and Registrar Campaign Information Session. It's fantastic to see such a diverse group of future RMOs and registrars coming together for tonight's webinar, hosted by James Cook University's Northern Queensland Regional Training Hubs and partnering with Queensland Health. My name is Andrea Muller and I'm the Program Manager for NQRTH. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first inhabitants of this country and pay my respect to the traditional owners and elders, past and present, on the lands of which we meet today. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Shane Green and Carol from Queensland Health and all of our wonderful panellists for their collaboration and support in making tonight happen. It's because of the efforts of such organisations and individuals that the medical community can continue to thrive and provide quality healthcare in regional and remote areas of Queensland. Our program this evening will ensure a balance between informative and engaging presentations, as well as the opportunity to interact with our panellists during the Q&A session. Firstly, we will hear from Shane Green from Queensland Health, who will share information about the RMO and Registrar campaign application process specific to Queensland and the relevant timelines. After that, you'll hear from the regional hospitals in North Queensland, who will present their facilities and explain what you can expect as an RMO or a registrar in each location. The presenters will include doctors and medical education unit staff members who will tell you all about the quality training opportunities available in our region. We will then move over to ACRM and RACGP to discuss the training pathway opportunities and will explain more about their role in facilitating GP training. To round off the night, we will have registrars and junior doctors share some of their insights and expertise as we spent 20 to 30 minutes covering questions and topics. So we're going to hear from the hospitals in Cairns, Townsville, Mackay, Mount Isa, Central West, as well as mentioned previously, ACRM and RACGP. Okay, for the final part of the webinar, we'll also include questions from the audience. At the bottom of your screen, you can see the Q&A icon. Please use this tool to ask questions, which I will put to the panel. The Q&A box can be used at any time during the webinar with people from Queensland Health and other people from the MEU. They will be behind the scenes responding to your queries. All responses will be visible to everyone, but if there are questions that we don't have a chance to get to tonight, they will be available to you along with a copy of the recording in a few days. So now let's welcome Shane Green, Principal Policy Officer in the Intern and RMO Recruitment Team at the Queensland Department of Health.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can see me and hear me okay. As mentioned, my name is Shane Green, and I'm the Principal Policy Officer. I work in the Medical Advisory and Pre-Vocational Accreditation Unit, it's a mouthful, in the Queensland Department of Health, and it's my job to oversee the intern and RMO recruitment campaigns. I'm joined this evening by Carol Ramirez. Carol is our RMO campaign coordinator, and she's in the background answering any questions that you may have. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands in which we all are this evening and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Can you let me know if you can see that screen okay, Andrea?
Yes, perfect.
Yep, cool, excellent, thank you. I'll fire away. I've got about 3 screens up at the moment. So what I'll quickly touch on, I've got 15 minutes, so I'll talk quite fast. There's a lot to get through. What is the RMO recruitment campaign? We'll then look at the campaign structure, which is staggered, and some of the key dates that we use with the campaign. We'll then look at some roles and responsibilities for you guys as applicants to the campaign. We'll then go through some of the key documents that you'll be required to upload as part of your application. And then I'll touch on the preferencing process and the position search tool. I'll briefly look at specialty training and then we'll move on to some key contacts. So what is the RMO recruitment campaign? It's a statewide annual recruitment campaign that we have every year and we have had for the last 20 at least years. It's one of Australia's most centralised campaigns. We recruit to a number of positions, largely registrar, PHO, senior house officer and junior house officer roles. There's over 80 hospitals or training facilities that participate. So mainly the hospitals, but we also have a number of GP clinics and pathology labs, etc. And in fact, we had about 120 participate last year. So that list is growing. We receive around 9,000 applications every year. So that's a huge amount. And we make between 6,500 and 7,000 appointments via the campaign. As I mentioned, it's a centralized system, which means efficiencies for you. It's one application for any position within Queensland Health. You don't need to apply individually to the hospital and health services. Once you hit submit in your application, those hospitals will have access to your application. So these efficiencies for use applicants and also the hospital and health services and Queensland Health as a whole. It's the same system that we use for the internal recruitment campaign. So if you at my presentation a month or two ago, you'll recall we have a system called High Road. It's an external vendor, and we've used that system for probably 12, 13 years now. And that final point is just to show you the gravity of how big the campaign is. So we support over $900 million in hospital and health service recruitment and resourcing. So what is a clinical, this is just a picture of what the clinical career structure looks like. And what we recruit via the RMO recruitment campaign is those shaded orange, blue, and green. So your junior medical officer positions. So just onto the campaign dates and structure. We have a staggered campaign, and that essentially means that we start with our rural campaign that's already opened and closed. That's called the Rural Advanced Skills Training Campaign. We then move into the main RMO recruitment campaign, and there's a number of rounds. The first round kicking off is Registrar and PHO. So that takes place. Anyone that wasn't successful in that round has an opportunity to re-preference, so they can jump into their application, look at where some of the remaining vacancies are, and then re-preference to those remaining vacancies, or they can re-preference to a lower level position, such as your senior house officer and junior house officer positions, which is recruitment round 2. Again, we have another candidate re-preferencing round, and then we move into the open round, or which we call recruitment round 3. So there's lots of opportunities to put in an application and have it visible to the medical recruitment teams in the hospital and health services. Moving on to dates, so we're opening pretty soon. Applications open Monday the 2nd of June at 9 AM, and applications close Monday 30th of June 2025. We don't receive late applications. Because as you can imagine, it's such a busy schedule and process, and we can't keep having the portal open. So the assessment and interview period for PHOs and registrars will go between 7th of July to 25th of July. Then we'll have system selections for those positions, 28th of July to 27th of August. The candidate re-preferencing round is 29th of August to 1st of September. These dates are all published on our website as well, so you don't need to jot them down. Then we'll move into our SHO and JHO rounds, another candidate re-preferencing, and the open round is 10th of November 2025. That essentially means any hospital can contact you, regardless of how you have preference in your application. If they have a vacancy and they can see you haven't been selected to a position, you're able to make contact and offers are able to be made. So roles and responsibilities. So within the Department of Health, we manage the online e-recruitment system, which is used for 4 campaigns, 2 rural campaigns and 2 main campaigns across intern and RMO recruitment. We manage the re-preferencing round, the remaining vacancies process, where we go out to the hospitals and ask them if they have any vacancies that they want us to advertise to available candidates. And we make and monitor system selections. That's largely for the registrar positions that are recruited via the colleges. So what's your role in this? Well, you are required to complete an application form and provide any supplementary information. You're responsible for obtaining or maintaining Medical Board of Australia registration. That's obviously a condition of your employment. And you will participate in a selection process, which is generally a review of your application and resume, your referee reports, and an interview. And the hospital, health services and training programs, they're the ones on the ground assessing the applications, and they're communicating selection outcomes, including any feedback. If you're unsuccessful to a position, you are able to ask for feedback on your application. Who can apply? It's pretty open. Anyone can apply as long as you can obtain or have Medical Board of Australia registration. If you're an IMG, we get a lot of inquiries from IMGs. Can you apply? Yes, absolutely. And the same applies, obviously. You'll need to obtain a Medical Board of Australia registration prior to commencement. And you'll also need to consider some of the visa requirements. So you'll need to have a working visa prior to commencement. And a number of our hospital and health services will support that journey. So moving on to completing your application. Make sure you complete all steps of the application form. Mandatory questions will be marked with the red asterisks. You won't be able to move past that question unless you provide a response. You need to upload a CV, and you can check the RMO campaign website. There's a template available for you to use if you don't have one. You need to make sure that the information that you upload as part of your application is the most recent. Now, I'm saying this because our system's really easy, so it'll pre-populate information for you. So if you applied for a JHO 1 year, when you apply again for a SHO, it'll have your resume stored, your vaccine preventable diseases stored, criminal history, etc. So just keep in mind that that will pre-populate, but you'll need to update it. So for example, you'll need to list in your resume the last 12 years of where you've worked. So it's current and visible to the medical recruitment teams in the hospital and health services. As part of your application, you'll be required to nominate 2 referees. Please ask their permission before you nominate them. We have had instances in the past where referees have refused to fill out referee reports because they weren't asked in advance. And obviously they see a lot of junior doctors rotating in and out of their areas, and so sometimes they can't remember who you are. So what our suggestion is to build that relationship, tell them that you're applying, and perhaps remind them when you work there. PHO and Registrar referee reports are due on the 6th of July, and JHO and SHO referee reports are due on the 24th of July. So unlike the intern recruitment campaign where you have to nominate 20 hospitals, with the RMO recruitment campaign, you nominate 5 preferences. So you're able to look up a position search tool to see where the positions are. So for example, if you're looking for a junior health officer position, you can type that into the position search tool and it will list every hospital within Queensland Health as junior health officer positions available via the campaign, and it will tell you exactly how you need to preference. Okay, I've got about 3 or 4 minutes, so I'm going to quickly go through this. This is what the position search tool looks like. For this example, I've put JHO up here in the filter, as I mentioned just before. Very convenient, and it lists a number of hospitals. So when you're in the application, you list Bundaberg Hospital, position type full-time, JHO specialty rotational. A lot of them will be rotational at the junior health officer level, and subspecialty none. But you can see some of the preferences are laid out slightly different. And just remember, if you get stuck in the preferencing section, come back to the position search tool and just emulate what's on there and copy it over to your application. We have a whole section on specialty training. So if you are interested in vocational training pathways, you can go to this website, this portion of our website, which talks all about our medical specialty training programs. In Queensland Health, there's generally 3 ways that you can be selected onto a training pathway, and that's either one through a centrally managed Queensland Health pathway network or training programs. A lot of the medicine ones are via a statewide network, directly by a Queensland Health facility accredited for training. So for that example, I'm thinking emergency medicine, or an individual specialist medical college, which allocates trainees to a Queensland facility, and that's all your RACs trainees. So they do all the recruitment and they advise us as Queensland Health. These are your recommended trainees for the next year. And it's still incumbent on the hospital and health services to do the onboarding and the pre-employment checks as well. This is just what our website looks like. It's very easy. It's been revamped and redesigned recently. Very logical. If you do have any issues and you can't find any information, I'm sure you'll be able to, but if you can't, please contact us and we can direct you to preferencing guides. This is one of the final slides, and it's on a career medical website called MediNav, and it's an excellent resource. So if you are interested around where some of the accredited training positions are in a certain specialty, you can jump onto MediNav and have a look, and it will list all the locations in Queensland where you can undertake the training. It also provides some really good snapshot data around gender. I think there's a gender breakdown as well, average age, also how competitive it is to get onto a training pathway. So as you can imagine, some might take a number of attempts to get on and others are fairly quick. So it'll give you an average. That's 620. On the RMO campaign websites also there's hospital profiles. So this is the opportunity for the hospitals, as well as a session like this, to try and sell their venues as a place for you to preference and what specialty areas they have, what accredited positions they have, and some of the more fun stuff, like they might have a social club, for example, or a swimming pool or car parking that you have access to. It's all listed here under the facility profiles. Where can you get more information? Everyone knows about the RMO recruitment campaign. If you're stuck, from a technical perspective, we have an applicant user guide, which is on the right, or talk to colleague supervisors, medical recruitment teams. Most hospitals will have a dedicated medical recruitment team, medical education officers, directors of clinical training. That is our website down the end. So it's very easy, www.careers.health.qid.gov.au/RMO. Right, that's me, Andrea. 1 minute over. Sorry about that.
That's all right, Shane. That was brilliant. Thanks so much. Okay, so remember, if you do have any questions for Shane and the team, please feel free to add them to the Q&A box. Okay, so first of all, we're going to introduce Cairns Hospital. So please welcome Dr. Trent Yarwood, who is the Director of Clinical Training, and also Dr. Heather McNeil, who is currently working as an RMO.
Right. Hi, everyone. My name's Heather. I'm one of the RMOs at Cairns, and online, as we've just had introduced, is Dr. Trent Yarwood. He's our Director of Clinical Training. And I'm going to talk a little bit fast because I've got 5 minutes to try and convince you why Cairns should be your #1 pick in the RMO campaign this year. So if we jump to our next slide. So a little bit about our hospital and health service. We cover a huge region. So I think that little yellow area you can see on the screen, that is about 150,000 square kilometres. So Cairns and Hinterland Hospital and Health Service, we have 9 hospitals, 11 primary healthcare centres and 9 community healthcare centres that service that entire region from all the way up to Cow Bay, out to Croydon and down to Tully. And we serve a population of about 250,000 people, so enormous population and region. Our main hospital is the Cairns Hospital that you can see in that picture there. It's a beautiful campus to work at, right in the city centre in Cairns, so super convenient location, and it outlooks over the Esplanade and the water, and it's a really lovely place to actually work and live at. Not just this area, so not just on this slide that you can see that yellow area, but we also are the major referral centre for everything north of that. So Cape York up to the Torres Strait, so patients from Thursday Island, Weipa, Bamaga, Cooktown, if they need a higher level care or tertiary centre, they get sent down to Cairns. So very diverse and very varied and wide clinical experience that you'll see up here in the Cairns region. So if we jump to the next slide. That sort of leads me into my first point about why you guys should consider coming up to the Cairns Hospital in the Cairns region. And it is that really diverse and varied clinical exposure that you're going to get that you may not see at every other hospital, particularly down in our metro centres. So there's a lot of opportunities for rural and remote experience. Like you saw on the map before, huge area that we cover. Huge diverse population, and it's not just people from that region, but we're also a major tourist destination. So we get people from all over the world coming here, which means we get a huge variety of different conditions and diseases that you see that you might not see everywhere else. building onto that rural and remote experience, there's a lot of opportunities for our RMOs to do really unique positions. So there's our GP RMO positions where you can do 2 or 3 days a week in a GP clinic with 2 or 3 days a week in a rural hospital. We have opportunities for our RMOs to step up to PHO positions for 10 weeks in our rural centres, as well as the very, very popular Royal Flying Doctor Service term, where you actually get to go out on the planes to these rural communities, and it's a really rewarding experience and term to have. We have a lot of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander individuals that come to our health service, as well as a huge exposure to tropical medicine that you are not going to see anywhere else in Australia. Maybe Darwin, but anywhere south of here, you're not going to get a lot of exposure to that. It's really interesting medicine up here, and it's been a really interesting experience for me as an intern last year and as an RMO this year. Another reason that you should consider coming to Cairns Hospital, and you'll probably hear this all tonight, working in regional hospitals, I mean, they just attract really friendly, really positive, and really kind individuals. And that makes for a really friendly, positive, and kind work environment. I know I've experienced it. My seniors are so supportive. They're really passionate about supporting our junior doctors in these regional centres. They want to give you strong supervision. They want to find those opportunities for you to really advance as a junior doctor. And I've found that it's more than what I experienced, I guess, as a med student when I was in a metro centre. It's just that next level. And they see us not just as doctors, but my seniors have really wanted to get to know me as a human being as well. So what are my career aspirations, but what do I do outside of work? And that's really, I found that really positive environment at Cairns. Another benefit to, I guess, coming to Cairns is being a smaller hospital, say the big metro centres, is you get a lot more hands-on experience. So a lot more opportunities to develop your clinical skills and your procedural skills than you might get at some of the bigger hospitals down south. And I know I've spoken to a lot of my colleagues that I graduated with, and I tell them, oh, I did this today, or this is the 4th time I've had an opportunity to do that. And often their responses are, wow, I haven't even seen that once. So you really get to develop those skills earlier on in these regional centres, particularly at Cairns, that you might not get sort of down south in the big metro centres. And we also have a huge focus on teaching up here. So fortnightly catered RMO teaching, love a good free lunch, and also lots of departmental teaching. Every single department has lots of department teaching. Next slide. I'll quickly finish off because I think I have about 30 seconds to a minute to go. If that hasn't sold it to you, hopefully some of these beautiful photos have as well. It is a beautiful area of the world to live in. We have the rainforest, the reef, the Daintree, the tablelands. It is a gorgeous place to live. So it makes for a great work-life balance. Don't worry if you're thinking, well, I don't know anyone up in Cairns. We have a really strong Junior Doctor Society and RMO Society. We have regular events that make sure we create and foster a network for people to get to know everyone so you feel well supported. So if you don't know anyone, you're going to know lots of friends and make lots of friends up here within a month or two. If you're worried about, well, how am I going to afford to move up here? Again, don't worry. Cairns has a wonderful relocation package. They took care of all of my moving costs and helped me with my accommodation until I found a rental. If you want more information on that, you can talk to Junior Medical Workforce. And I'll lastly finish by saying our junior medical workforce are amazing. They really work to make sure you get your PDL approved, you get flexible rotations, and you get the preferences you want because they want to see our regional doctors advance in their careers early on. That's everything from me, and I think I'm just over time.
That was brilliant. Thanks so much, Heather. Very passionate. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't have Torres and Cape Hospital and Health Service present tonight, but if you do want to find out more about them, you can go to either our website or also to their hospital website. They are obviously on top of what Heather just said. They have very unique and broad range of training opportunities, and they have health facilities located in Cooktown, Thursday Island, Bamaga and Weipa. Okay, so next to present, we'll have Townsville University Hospital. So please welcome Davina Buttigieg, who is the Medical Allocation and Rostering Officer in the MEU, and also Dr. Kelsey Popham, a RMO at TUH.
Hello, everyone. Well, that was definitely very exciting, Heather, and it was lovely to hear all about Cairns. So let's sell Townsville and what's outstanding with us. So the Townsville Hospital is North Queensland's only tertiary hospital and supports a catchment of around 700,000 people. We have a state-of-the-art hybrid theatre. We have a renal transplant unit, which opened up in January this year. We're accredited for 38 interns, including 4 country practice terms at rural sites, which also includes accommodation. And some of those sites are Ayr, Home Hill, Charters Towers, Hewenden, Ingham, Joyce Palmer, and Richmond and Weipa. Broad range. We have a great medical society also, which is called the Townsville Medical Staff Society. They create advocacy, community, social events, and so much more. We're commencing the WBA program that's commencing in term 2, so at the end of June, which is also fantastic. New program that we've commenced here in our hospital, which will support our IMG doctors working their way through to get their general registration. Apart from, looking at all of the photos, you can see over here the amazing views that we've got at Magnetic Island, along with obviously being able to travel a short distance, tropical North Queensland, some of the most amazing things that you'll see presenting through our emergency that you won't see anywhere else. What about you, Kelsey? Have you got anything that you want to add in relation to that?
Hey everyone, I'm Kelsey. I'm one of the PGY2 RMOs. I've been with Townsville for about the past 18 months and I'm absolutely loving it. I think Townsville Hospital is very, very unique in that it is a tertiary hospital, so you are exposed to a lot of different types of specialties and getting opportunity within those specialties. But also being a regional hospital, you are able to create relationships with registrars and consultants who are very interested and willing to teach and offer lots of different opportunities. Like I've had colleagues who have been involved in many resusces and EDs, doing lumbar punctures, assisting for cesareans, being in theatre, just having really hands-on experiences. Myself and my experience, I've spent the first 2 terms of this year at the Ayr Hospital, which actually wasn't planned because I was supposed to be in Ayr and then do ED and then do an extended time in ONG for the rest of the year. But our wonderful medical workforce arranged for me to stay in Ayr for an extra term, which has just been an incredible experience. I've been exposed to so much here. Being in the rural, like a rural term, you are classed as a PHO. So you do nights. Well, for me in Ayr here, we do nights on our own, which is extremely daunting. But after at least the first 1 or 2 weeks, I felt a lot more comfortable, and having an SMO that is so willing to help and take your phone calls and come into the hospital for anything that's so small, even if you're freaking out over something so small, they are so supportive. That has really, really gained my skills and has made me more confident in my own clinical practice. So I definitely don't think I would have had those opportunities being in a bigger centre. In addition to this, something I think that's quite special with Townsville and RMO lines is that we offer extended lines. So I was lucky enough to get an ONG extended line this year. So I'm PGY2 and I'm getting 20 weeks in ONG. Other extended lines they do as ED, critical care, rural and GP, cardiothoracic, vascular and orthopedics. And then as a PGY3, you can do an extended experience lines in peds, anesthetics and psychiatry, which I think is really cool to have that extended time. But overall, I think it's a great place to be. And more, I guess, logistical things is that there's free parking. It's a short walk to the hospital. There's our own doctor's room and a medical society that organises free lunch, and the teaching each week is so supportive. So I'm a big advocate for Townsville, and I definitely think everybody should give it a go. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Kelsey and Davina. That's brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so next we're going to hear from the Mackay region. So can we please welcome, Dr. Disha Katia, who's an ACRM registrar at Proserpine Hospital.
Hi everyone. So yes, I'm Dishra and I'm PGY 5 now doing my ACRM training, and I work between Proserpine Hospital and a local GP practice in Airlie Beach. I've spent my entire career, all 5 years of it, in the Mackay Health Service, so I think I can speak to what it's like living and working in our beautiful region. So our health service spans from southwest in Claremont, and we've got a few sort of rural sites, couple doctor-size hospitals in Collinsville, Moranbah, Dysart, Claremont, and it goes up north to Bowen and then down south to Serena. Big advocate for Proserpine Hospital where I work. We are a birthing facility, and we do have a lot of procedural ACRM doctors that work there. Then Mackay Base, we have 318 beds, and we provide services for maternity, peds, gen surg, ortho-psychiatry, and cardiology, as well as gen med. And we, of course, have a really great ICU and anesthetics department, as well as emergency department. And a lot of people come here actually to get onto ICU and anesthetics training. Next slide, please. An important consideration, I guess, for a lot of you is what is training like and what can you get out of working in a particular health service. I obviously can attest to ACRM training here. I've never left the MHHS, and I've completed all of my pre-vocational RG training and my advanced skill in obstetrics here. So it saves me having to move around. And certain other specialties like crit care, peds, and psychiatry in particular, you can actually get all of or a lot of your training, especially your rural and regional terms, done without having to move heaps of times, like our colleagues who work in metro sites that then get shafted to somewhere in Whoop Whoop that they have no friends or family. So it's really great because you can stay in a department and just grow with that department through your career. There are also a lot of people who have stuck around. I know in my own intern cohort and people who've been my medical students before, and they've stuck around through PGY 2, 3, 4 so that they could progress in their chosen specialty, whether that be jumping from an RMO role to a PHO role and then getting on the program, or just in terms of because you've stayed, they're really happy to get you all the rotations that you need or want to, say, resume build or get more experience. We are also a regional training site for a lot of colleges, so you have access to amazing mentors who can help you get onto training programs and tell you what it's like to work in that field, do the training and get through your exams. And it's also a really great place to step up in a supported fashion so that you know that you're ready when it comes to doing a registrar job, and you get those opportunities as a junior doctor, like as an RMO. Especially when you go out to the rural sites, sometimes you are the only doctor in the ED on overnight, but you always have a physically on site, you have someone else there to help you out if you need. So it's a really great opportunity to prove to yourself that you know what you're doing. And for those who are into research, we have a really great research department and lots of opportunities if you're wanting to do audits or trials, and if you just need to do those for whatever specialty training program you're going towards. And I know everyone has been banging on about it and will continue to be talking about it all night, but it is so great working at a smaller hospital. Everyone knows everyone else. It's much less hierarchical than working in a huge tertiary centre. You're friends with your consultants and registrars, and for example, here in Prosy, we all go out to trivia. We have one trivia team, the medical students to the consultants, everyone comes, even the locums come and hang out. It's just a really friendly, positive place to live and work. And I think it also makes for a better work environment because people are generally less likely to be mean to you if they know you because you go to the same coffee shop or the same gym. So next slide, please. And just speaking of all these things that happen outside of work, there is no way you can thrive and train if you are living somewhere that you hate. And there's a lot to say for living in Mackay and the Whitsundays. Obviously, we have all the shopping malls and cinemas and airports, so it's really easy to get to the big smoke if you're wanting to go see something or do something in the city. We have a lot of community sports teams and gyms, as well as Pilates and yoga studios, if that's more your vibe. And obviously, we have great access to snorkeling and scuba diving. Fewer toxic jellyfish than up north. Sorry, guys. But if the ocean isn't your thing, we also have lots of places to go camping and hiking. as well, beautiful national parks. And I know part of the reason why myself and a lot of my colleagues have stuck around for so long is because we have such a nice cohort of friends here and a really nice community. Certainly the medical education unit helps with this because as interns, you all spend so much time together, and then before you know it, you're best mates. It's also really nice just within the hospital. We have our very active Facebook page and social group. We've had balls every year, and we tend to do end of term drinks every term. But it's not just restricted to the doctors. You get to become friends with your allied health colleagues as well. And next slide, please. I think that is wrapping up all of the time I've had to speak. I hope that I've said enough to make you intrigued about living and working in Mackay in the Whitsundays. And if you have any specific questions, you can scan the code and get in touch with our our medical education team, especially if you have questions about the WBA program, which we've rolled out at the hospital, or accommodation when you move here, which the health service tends to provide. And obviously we will be at RDAQ as well. So if any of you are down at the Gold Coast in June, very, very happy to chat to you then as well. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Disha. It was really good to hear from you. All right, now we're going to move out west to Mount Isa. So please welcome Dr. Brianna Smith, who is the Director of Rural Generalist Training.
Hello, my name's Brianna. I'm one of the rural generalists working and living locally in Mount Isa. I came out for a one-year adventure about 5 years ago, and so I think that speaks volume to the environment that we're working in out here. If you're wondering where Mount Isa is, we are south of the Gulf of Carpentaria in northwest Queensland, and we span an area actually larger than Victoria, but quite a sparse population. Mount Isa Hospital is an 80-bed hospital. We have Gen Med, Gen Surge, Gen Peds, O&G. And what makes this place so special to work in is our patients. So 20% of our population is Aboriginal. We do have some Torres Strait Islanders as well. And it's, other than that, a very multicultural community. I've seen patients walk in on their septic joints. I've seen them self-reduce their fracture so that they can get back to the rodeo. I've seen women walk in 8 months pregnant in filament heart failure because of their rheumatic heart disease and terrible valves. We have the extreme poverty end of medicine, up to mining injuries, interpersonal trauma, tropical infections, including TB and melioidosis. So you really get to see this amazing range of pathology out here. It's a small team, so if your patient in ED needs procedures, you're going to be doing it. If they need an LP, an SMO will help you if you haven't done that before, but it's a very hands-on experience. There's no ICU team to come down and put the lines in. It's you. So I think that's what junior doctors enjoy most about their experience coming out. It's a very tailored teaching experience because of our smaller groups, and so we can work on specific goals that you might have. Training opportunities are quite diverse out here. We do have a great program for rural generalist training, so you can commence your internship with us and actually finish your training in the Northwest as well. We have most ASTs besides mental health. And opportunities to work in more remote settings, as well as across community general practice with a single employer model, and with the RFDS as well. I myself work across anesthetics, the emergency department, with RFDS, and then as the director of training. So there's lots of opportunity. We do have ASIM trainees and BPT trainees, if you're more interested in those paths. There's my dog, Moose. Yeah, and that's one of our Telstra Hills, just a area that you can hike to relatively easy after work. We also offer surgical PHO jobs with those rural points for those of you trying to get onto surgical training, and a very hands-on surgical team. So lots of opportunity out here. There are some financial benefits as well. So you get free accommodation for at least 17 months. So if you're thinking about trying a remote setting, this might be your opportunity and relatively expense-free. There is a $34,000 inaccessibility allowance for coming out here yearly, and half is paid after 6 months. You will also accrue a larger amount of PDL while you're working out here with us. So there's lots of opportunity to get back to the city. There's flights regularly to Cairns, Townsville, and Mount Brisbane. So you can attend all the courses, and we're very supportive about making sure people are getting the adequate training that they've in terms of living here, it is a town of young professionals. There's a large mine locally, so there's lots of community events, sporting opportunities, every sport under the sun you can play. We have a golf course. We do have cafes. We do have restaurants, pubs, cinema, pool. We are very remote but self-sufficient out here. If you like the outdoors, there's lots of camping, waterfalls to chase in the rainy season. There's great fishing, beautiful sunsets and picnic spots not far out of town. Rodeo circuit starts in the winter. There's camel races, canoe races, country races. These small, obscure country towns with 5 people become thousands of people on a weekend. So there's lots to do. No one's bored out here. Great training opportunities. And it's been a really fabulous time. If you have any questions, please get in contact with our medical workforce. And I'm also happy to take any questions if you want to email me specifically it's brianna.smith at the Queensland Health email address.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brianna. That's fantastic. Okay, now can we please welcome Dr. John Duyere, Director of Clinical Training for the Central West Hospital and Health Service.
Hi everyone, I'm John. I'm sitting in Longreach on Inningai country, and I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and recognise their elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to talk to you about Central West. Can we have the next slide please? I'd like to start by challenging you with a question, a couple of questions. Do you feel like this is what you're doing at the moment? Trying to spin a wheel to make a decision that will direct your career for years to come. And if you're uncertain about that and we're worried about where that wheel might end up, can we go to the next slide, please? I'll ask another question, and whether it might be worth thinking about reaching a little further to see what's out there, what is possible that perhaps you've never thought of or don't really have much of a concept of, because all you're doing is sitting there looking at that wheel and those boxes that are on the wheel. Next slide, please. So this is a map of Central West HHS, and I know the others have told everybody how big they were. Central West HHS makes up 30% of the land area of Queensland and is the biggest health service geographically. However, it's quite a small population spread across that area. So our main centres with hospitals are Winton, Longreach, Barcaldine and Blackall, which are highlighted there on the map. And with Longreach being the main hub and the procedural centre for our service. Ours is a fully rural generalist run service. So we have, while we have visiting specialists, we have no non-GP specialists who are employed in our facilities. So this is a full rural generalist model of service delivery. And we are a very small workforce across our whole HHS. We have 32 medical FTE in next year's financial budget. Unlike many rural health services, we are actually really quite well staffed. And while we have vacancies, mainly due to people progressing their career and doing other things, we have a few vacancies. Our workforce is really well staffed. And what that means is that there's good support, the rosters are manageable, and which allows for you to do lots of things. The next slide, please. So these are the things that we pride ourselves in delivering. I'll talk about the single practice model in a moment. But as I said before, we are GP and rural generalist focused. All of our centres are accredited for both ACRM and RACGP training. And if you did a year here and then subsequently did ACRM training, you will get recognition of prior experience for much of the time that you spend here. So if you're uncertain, this is a good place to come and try it out. Because of our small workforce and because we cover the entire spectrum of all presentations that come and go from our facilities, it allows you to see the full scope of care. We're very supportive. There's a good work-life balance because of our healthy rosters, and because we're MM7, you get the maximum of all the state and federal rural incentives. All of our doctors have housing provided. Next slide, please. So what's the single practice model? What this is all about is that all of the general practice services across the district are also delivered by the HHS. And that means that there is an opportunity, and all of our SMOs and registrars work across both the hospital and general practice settings. If we have PHOs and other juniors, there is an opportunity for them to do general practice experience if they want to. So everybody works together. Everybody comes along to a handover meeting in the morning at the hospital, and then we go to our different roles for the day. So it's a very tight-knit group, and we see ourselves as one medical workforce across the whole district, providing all of the care needed from a primary care and secondary care and sometimes tertiary level care for our community. We have our birthing and procedural service in Longreach, and the other facilities are very much general practice based with inpatient beds and emergency departments. Anybody who's interested, scan the QR code there, which will take you to more information. We will be at the RDAQ conference. Come along and talk with us if you're interested in stretching yourself and looking to a slightly further horizon and maybe doing something a bit different if you're uncertain where that wheel might land when you spin it. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks, John. That was fantastic. And thank you to everybody else who has presented so far from the hospitals. It's been really good to hear from all of you what's on offer from our hospital and health services in North Queensland and Central and West Queensland. Okay, now we're going to hear more about GP training opportunities available in our region and the application process. So first up, I'd like to invite Dr. Carolyn Blonogov from the Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine, or ACRM, to present. Thanks, Carolyn.
Yep, thanks for that intro, Andrea. Hi, everyone. I'm Carolyn. So I'll just talk a little bit about ACRM today and what it means to be a rural generalist. So we can go to the next slide. So a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I'm Carolyn. I'm one of the provisional SMOs who works out in Babinda. This is my family. So I've managed going through training in my junior doctor years, having kids. So it's something that's very doable, but I have 3 little boys, all under 4. Next slide. And so a bit about what is a rural generalist. I like to think of a rural generalist as a bit of a jack of all trades. We know a little bit about everything because we have to. We provide care to communities, allowing people to stay in the community to give birth, that whole cradle to grave model of care. Next slide. Is rural generalism for you? I think if you do like a little bit of everything and you get bored easy, the answer would be yes. It is important for you to have interest in general medicine, but also emergency medicine. And then if there is a special AST that you have an additional interest in, being a rural generalist allows you to encompass all of those interests. So you don't have to choose one thing or another. And it also gives you a very flexible career path. And also, if you like the bush and you like adventuring, it's definitely a career for you. Next slide. So where do ACRM rural generalists work? So a few people have touched base on some of the regional and rural hospitals that we work at. That's where a lot of people may commonly think a rural generalist works, but you can also work at a rural GP in retrievals for RFDS, and then also from the GP perspective of RFDS going out to communities. The ADF, we have a lot of members a part of, and then also at AMSs, so Aboriginal Medical Services, and then some people prefer to do some medical education. Next slide. So why ACRM? ACRM is the college that is made for people who do want to go rural. And speaking as someone who's had to sit the exams and gone through the program, it really has prepared me for being that rural doctor. Where I work in Babinda, when I'm the SMO who's on call, it's only me around. There's no other doctors to call in. I have RSQ on the line, but ACRM has prepared me enough with all the mandatory emergency courses that I've had to do, and then the workshops that they provide to give me the skill set to really manage whatever comes through the door, stabilize the patient, move them on, but at the same time, also be prepared to have those conversations the next day with someone about starting contraception or other things that we do as general practitioners. So it has provided me such a variety of skill set, and it has given me a lot of confidence in working in rural areas. Next slide. So my journey with ACRM. So we've heard about some of the great health services. I did my junior doctor years in the Townsville Health Service and got to work at Ingham and Ayr Hospital as RMO and PHO, and then moved up to the CHIS or Cairns Hinterland Health Service as a registrar, and I've been at Babinda for the past 3 years. Next slide. These next 2 slides are purely to show you the work-life balance of being a rural generalist, and especially plugging far north Queensland, because look how beautiful it is. So we can go to the next slide to see some more pictures of beauty, and then we can continue on. And now a little bit about what the fellowship program entails, because I think that's what a lot of people will be interested in. So for your core generalist training, that is over the course of 3 years. And during that time, that's included for your time as a junior doctor in a hospital, where you'll have to get rotations in obstetrics, anesthetics, pediatrics, but there's ways to go around that for other RPL if you haven't gotten those core rotations. This also covers the emergency care time that's required for ACRM fellowship, and then just hospital time. Our AST is that advanced specialized training, and you can see a variety of options to choose from. So as I said, if you have an interest in something else, these are the ASTs that you'll spend a year as a reg in that role, gaining that skill to bring that back to the rural community where you live and work. Next slide. I think it's very important to find someone to be a mentor throughout your journey as a registrar, regardless of the specialty that you are in. And if you haven't found that person yet in the rural generalist setting, ACRM does have a mentor match that could pair you with someone who could give you a bit of that guidance throughout your career. Next slide. There's different funding streams. So the AGPT is probably the most common one that you've heard of, but then there's also the independent pathway. So for those of you who've done quite a bit of training in our PGY 5 above, whatever that may be, some opt to do independent pathway and get RPL from that. Next slide. So the application selection process, this, I just wanted to flag these different intakes coming up. So you write your application, and then afterwards they see if you're a good fit. You're offered these interviews, which they cycle usually around through 8 different people talking about why rural health is your calling or why you're interested in that, and then offers get released. So semester 1 usually starts in January and semester 2 usually starts in July. So that's just important to know as far as applying for jobs for next year. So if you're still interested in that semester 1 start, our applications close soon, so the 2nd of June. So it may be worth just taking a picture of those dates, or you can find that on our website. The next slide. So this slide, just the important thing is my email address at the bottom, the rlo.qld@acrim.org.au, because I am the Registrar Liaison Officer, and in that role, I'm there to support you and give you some information and guidance about what life is like as a registrar. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me at any point in time. And good luck, everyone, on figuring out where your career leads you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Caroline. There was a lot of great information there. Okay, I'd like to now welcome Dr. Louis Sett, who's a Senior Medical Educator and Head of Training, North Queensland, representing RACGP. And she'll also talk about information, their training pathways and the application process. Thanks, Louis.
Thanks, Andrea. How are you? It's been a great to listen to all of the hospitals and services, and good to hear what ACRIM's doing. Don't forget RACGP also works across the area. And if you have a look at the QR code, there's some more information on our program there. If you can go to the next slide for me. So I guess part of it is general practice and rural generalism. You know, it's been a great career for myself. I've been a rural generalist initially, moved into a more regional area, and now branching out into other aspects. It's a great career pathway with lots of portable skills and lots of things that you can diversify. So you haven't necessarily got to have one version of your career. You can start somewhere in general practice or rural generalism, and over time it can grow or change with you. And I think that's the beauty of it. You know, the ability to have that continuity of healthcare and look at patients over many years, and for me, many generations, can be quite amazing. Next slide for me, thanks. So just to have a look at the 2 pathways that RACGP offers. So the 3-year program to get the fellowship of RACGP is probably what people are most familiar with. Of course, doing your first, we'll look at that breakdown in a moment. We also, of course, have our rural generalist pathway, which is a 4-year program. Which involves doing, we call it additional rural skills training in our pathway. So if we go to the next one, thank you. It just breaks it down a little bit more. Again, we have an independent pathway called the FSP program, but probably most people are familiar with the AGP part of RACGP. You know, it's funded by the Australian government, and just look at the pathways. If you can have a look there, you know, the first year for both pathways, be it GP or rural generalist, would be in 12 months in hospital, and nowhere better to get some of those skills in some of those great places I've heard about earlier on today. You know, be it Townsville, be it Cairns. I'm down in, you know, we're down in Bundy here at the moment. So, but lots of great places. The difference from our pathways is if you decide that, you know, a general practice is where you want to be, it's how much community general practice training you do, slightly more than on the ACRIM model. But you still get that chance to do 6 months extended skills training, which can be in hospitals. That can be, you know, emergency, palliative care. It can be O&G. There's lots of you can be in academic posts and lots of avenues there for general practice. And if you look at our RG pathway, that's an extra year of training, which often we do use some of the HHS models and those we're hearing about earlier, where you might do your additional rural skills for 12 months. Sometimes that may be blended with a private general practice. Sometimes that might be blended with Queensland Health general practice. So there's lots of options in there and lots of mixes. If you're not sure and you're not sure you want to be a GP, and that isn't, you haven't fully decided, haven't got a role in your RMO post, you can defer the commencement of training comfortably by 26 weeks. And if you want to spend more time in the hospital, if you're not ready to come out into general practice. And it just gives you a lot of chance to vary your preference and develop some specific interests, which you can do over time. Thank you. Next slide, thanks. So applications for us are open on the 7th of July. on the RACGB website. You can apply as early as your intern year, which makes all of your time easy for us to follow and help monitor and make sure you're getting some variety of skill sets and pediatrics and some emergency in there. And there's quite a big program around that you can have a look at. So thank you for your time.
Great. Thanks so much, Louie.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you once again for all of the fantastic presentations. It's really good to hear about, what makes it so interesting to live and work in all of the different regions. Now we're going to open the conversation up to some questions from the audience. We have received some questions through the webinar registration page, and we've also been receiving some throughout the night. And obviously, if you have anything specific for any of the people from each of the sites, then feel free to ask questions now. But I'll just bring up a few that we've received previously. Okay, so. Oh, someone did ask the question, Townsville specific, do you have SHO roles in neurosurgery? I'm not sure if, Kristen, do you have that information? Or Davina, sorry.
Yes, we do. We do currently have SHO positions. They do range from 12-month positions, but we are looking at doing potential extended experiences, which is roughly so that a PGY 2 can also apply with the pre-vocational framework that is currently in place. So they'll have 2 rotations of neurosurge. So that's also in talks. So it'll either be an extended experience or a 12-month rotation, a 12-month line in neurosurge.
Fantastic. Thank you.
That's okay.
Also, people have been asking, does the recruitment campaign commence in the mid-year as well in Queensland? So I think we know that there's some interns that can commence midterm. Do you take RMOs at different times of the year? Or, yeah, mainly RMOs.
I know in Townsville we do. We have a rolling campaign that currently people can apply to. Obviously, with any attrition that happens, we're looking at consistently trying to fill those vacancies as well.
Okay, thanks, Davina. Another one is people were talking about the WBA program, which is the workplace-based assessment program. Can someone online briefly explain what that is for our international medical graduates?
Hi, Andrea. It's Kristen. I'm happy to answer the question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. So we have had quite a few questions about which hospitals offer the WBA pathway program. So I was just saying for people who aren't aware of it, or specifically to give more information to our international medical graduates, can you explain what that program is and does?
So that's the workplace-based assessment program, which is essentially the equivalent of the AMC clinical, but in a workplace-based assessment rather than sitting the clinical exam. There are a number of hospitals around the state that offer the program, but you would need to contact individual facilities to check if they do offer it or not. Brilliant. I know Townsville has just commenced it.
Yes, that's perfect. Thanks so much. And I'll just throw a question out to Dr. Yarwood. Obviously, you talked about or Heather spoke about the RFDS terms. Are they really popular and hard to obtain, or are you able to talk to your medical education unit about getting one of those terms when choosing your lines?
Yes, they are very popular, as you can imagine, and they're very, very well regarded by all of the interns, especially who rotate through them. But there's obviously not enough for everybody, but we do try to give people their preferences as much as we can.
Great, thank you. Another question is, I will be in PGY4 next year. Does Townsville have OBS and gynae SHO positions? Or do I need to do any SHO terms before applying for PHO positions in OBS and gynae?
So hello, I can answer that. So yes, we do have both extended experiences as well as rotational ONG that is available. In relation to PHO positions, that would be something that we would recommend you speaking to the director in the obstetrics and gynecology department, Dr. Greethoot, who will be able to provide you some more information around what their expectations are and what they're looking for if they were to look and consider. But you are welcome to apply through the RMO campaign for a PHO position in Townsville for ONG. And then obviously, if in that particular instance you were unsuccessful in obtaining that, would you be considering an SHO position within Townsville?
Great, thank you. And just over to you, Brianna. Obviously you showed us some amazing photos living and working in the Mount Isa region, but what was the inspiration, or how did you make your decision to relocate to Mount Isa?
So I had a partner who was living out here, so that was kind of an easy choice for me. But it made it easier because the hospital had quite a lot of options for training. So I came out here as a registrar and now work as an SMO, but there was options to get all of the rotations that I wanted with some compromise, of course, for workforce need, but I was able to do anesthetics and ONG and get quite a lot of emergency time to complete the EMC. Which is now called something different with ASIM, but there are opportunities to do the Women's Health Certificate with ONG, as well as the ASIM, not diplomas, whatever they're called now. So there's a variety of training opportunities, which, and like I said, the relationships with the GP practice, as well as RFDS. So there are options as a registrar to work across RFDS and the health service.
Oh, great. Thank you. And are the RFDS terms available to Cairns HHS employees only, or can Townsville and Mackay interns access them? And at intern level, can you get RFDSD terms, or is it just from the RMO onwards? Maybe Trent, do you know, is it only for the Cairns Hospital RMOs?
Our RFDS term is for interns, so for PGY1s, but so we don't offer it at PGY2 levels. And I'm not sure if Townsville or Mackay have their own arrangements with RFDS, but our doctors who work in Cairns get our Cairns RFDS rotations.
Perfect. Okay, and then maybe say for Carolyn or Louis, what options are there for non-RG interns, i.e. not formally on that RG pathway, to do rural practice rotations? I know that some of the hospitals did mention some of their rural sites. But are they, can you just maybe talk a little bit more about what rural terms they can do in PGY2 onwards?
I can talk about Central West. So we have doctors on rotation in Central West who have come from larger facilities, some through the Queensland Country JDocs program, some through the John Flynn pre-vocational doctor program, and we're always happy to have doctors visit us for 10-week rotations. And if that's something that you're interested in, many of the hospitals around Queensland now are supply hospitals for these programs. And it's a great opportunity to get yourself out and experience something a little bit different. Cairns, I think the question was specifically from Cairns, about Cairns. There are lots of rural rotations that come out of Cairns Hospital. They're not unique only for rural generalist trainees. There's lots of opportunities up as far as Cooktown and to Indigenous communities and other centres in North Queensland.
Thanks, John. Brianna, did you want to add something?
I was just going to say that whilst we don't have rotations from other facilities that come to Mount Isa, if you are in Mount Isa, there's opportunity to rotate out to some more remote sites. So there's permanent options, and hopefully for 2025, we'll have rotating RMOs with the option to go out to Mornington Island, Doomadgee, and Normanton Hospital. So there's rural rotations within the Northwest HHS.
Right, thank you. And John, just another one for you. You might have mentioned it. Sorry if I missed it. Do you offer relocation for junior doctors to come out?
Yes, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay. And back to Townsville, do you offer terms in medical imaging for PGY2s? And are there any radiology, SHO and PHO roles available?
Sorry, thanks, Andrea. So radiology is something that we offer as an intern, but not as the PGY2. But there is PHO positions in those available, yes.
Okay, great. Then, sorry, another Townsville question. So if they're interested in surgical training, are there multiple lines set up to obviously improve your chances of getting into surgical specialty surgical training, i.e. I know they're obviously very popular and in high demand, but are there multiple pathways?
Yes, there's definitely multiple pathways. We set up line combinations that are aligned with what the college requirements are across a variety of streams. You might just want, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There is obviously rural that is also a rotation, both from intern through to extended all the way through. So even if you are selecting a surgical line, you do also have the opportunity to be able to experience a rural rotation also, which is highly regarded within the colleges.
Great, thank you. Okay, does anyone have anything else to add? I'll just check. I think one of the questions just come in. This one says, I have around 5 years of experience, but with a few gaps and recent 6 months experience in emergency. So hoping to go into PGY3. That might be more of a question that they might have to talk individually with the hospitals, I think. Do you agree, Kristen?
Yes, definitely. That's an individual hospital assessment based on interview, etc.
Yeah, great, thank you. So I'd like to just throw it out to each of the sites and all of the people that have spoken tonight. Is there anything else that you would like to add after hearing from all of the other panelists, or any from, about any of the questions? All right, we might be able to wrap it up a bit early tonight then. Thank you everyone for all of your questions. Thanks to all of the panelists for giving up your precious time. We really appreciate it. And obviously, thanks. Oh, that's all right. I thought it was a question. Thanks, Trent. So I'd like to thank all of the panelists. I'd like to thank Shane and Carol from Queensland Health. Thank you for being so generous. Now, remember, this webinar has been recorded and we've got a copy of all of the questions asked and all of the relevant answers. So we will be able to send everyone who has registered a copy of the recording and those questions and answers in the next few days. You will receive an email from us, so look out for that. But if you do need any additional information, or if you have questions that we weren't able to cover tonight, please email us at nqrth@jcu.edu.au. Or you can visit our Facebook page where you'll find a wealth of information as well, including information on how to complete CVs and cover letters, and also interview tips and tricks. So before we go tonight, I would like to also invite you to join us for our next webinar, which is Enhance Your Medical Training Through Research, which will be held at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, the 28th of May. So if you haven't yet registered, please do so, and we will send you the link. So thank you once again for attending the 2026 Queensland Health RMO and Registrar Information Webinar. Have a fantastic night, everyone.